Very cool conditions waking up tomorrow morning, near 60 degrees in Las Cruces, 64 in El Paso to start the day. Plenty of sunshine around, though. We are going to be warming up to near 70 degrees by 9 a.m. for both cities. So we will warm up quickly, but it's going to be a cool start for sure.
Okay, Stephen, thank you. And thank you for watching ABC-7 at 10. Stephanie Guadian is standing by with ABC-7 Extra. Have a great night.
Live, where news comes first. This is ABC-7 Extra.
It is Sunday, August 14th. Welcome to ABC-7 Extra. Good evening. I'm Stephanie Guadian. Glad to have you with us. For the next half hour, we will be taking a close look at a controversial decision by El Paso County Commissioners to increase their annual salary by more than $26,000 and give a substantial raise to the county judge. It's a move that has a lot of people frustrated. It was a close 3-2 vote in favor of the pay increase. Commissioners Andrew Haggerty and Carlos Leon both voting no. We want to hear from you tonight. You can email us your comments and your questions right now to ABC-7 Extra at KVIA.com. You can also reach us by calling 915-496-1771, and on Twitter, just remember to use the hashtag ABC7 Extra. So the big question, will this vote affect you, the taxpayer? Simply put, commissioners say no.
The vote, it needed to happen.
A vote to increase pay for the elected officials.
The vast majority of people are not going to like it, and I understand why.
Right now, the county judge makes more than $87,000. The vote would bump that paycheck up by more than $14,000, making the proposed salary $102,000. County commissioners approved an increase in their salaries of more than $26,000 with a 3-2 vote.
For commissioners, that increase, and I know it's a big jump,
jumping their annual pay from close to $63,000 to more than $89,000.
Obviously, there's a lot of people who feel that public servants shouldn't get paid anything.
Their reasoning?
How much of a salary would it take to get great people to run?
And to make El Paso competitive compared to the other 253 counties statewide. The proposed increase would put the elected officials' payroll equal to about 70% of the market in Texas, which they hope will change who runs in future elections.
All you get are folks who either are retired and can depend on their pension, or folks who are independently wealthy.
More people who are qualified will take a better look at running for it because they're not going to take a huge pay cut in their current job.
There's not going to be a tax increase for anybody.
The proposed increase is not set in stone, but if the budget passes, it will go into effect October 1st. Commissioners Court will hold a tax rate proposal, which will be open to the public for constituents who want to voice any concerns. Again, commissioners believe that there will be no increase in taxes because of their increase in salaries. The proposal is scheduled for August 29th. And joining us right now, our guest tonight, El Paso County Judge Veronica Escobar, El Paso County Commissioner David Stout, and Attorney James Montoya. I want to thank you all for staying up late with us tonight and being here. I think the first question I want to ask all of you, are you surprised by the backlash?
I'm not. You know, I think that it's a very hard sell to tell taxpayers or citizens that public servants should be paid commensurate to their duties and responsibilities. There is still a very strong belief that public servants or there's a lot of debate about what an appropriate salary is for public servants. We've seen it at the city, we've seen it with our vote. I suspected it would be this difficult.
And the pay for El Paso County lower than other counties?
Right. You know, the reason we commissioned the survey that we did, we hired a company to come in and do a comparative survey of other counties around the state and the 10 largest counties. And we came in at some of the lowest points, and even with this increase, the Commissioners Court is still one of the lowest paid Commissioners Courts within those 10 other large counties, even with the increase. And you know, it's we decided not to raise it to 100%. We looked at the per capita income in comparison to also those 10 counties, which in El Paso it's about 70% of the rest. And we also looked at the cost of living here, which is 13% less. And those were calculations that we brought into the final number that we recommended.
Okay, Veronica, you mentioned this is something the city has experienced before. James, you have some expertise, some experience with this. Can you explain?
Yeah, so I served on the charter committee that proposed amendments to the city charter. Primarily, I guess the reason why we're here today is the city council salary, which in my opinion is paltry compared to what Commissioners Court make at this point. City council members, their pay is only $29,000, and because it's so low, I feel like the field of candidates, the people that run for city council, is very limited to people who are independently wealthy, either because they've retired or they own their own business, and it unnecessarily and unfairly restricts the amount of people who can economically and financially serve on council.
Okay. We want to first of all point out that this is not just something for the officials that you've tried to do in raising salaries.
Right, precisely. So the county several years ago engaged in a compensation strategy to elevate everyone to at least 70% of the market. And so that's been the first phase. And we said we're going to leave elected officials and lawyers to the very end. The lawyer piece is a little bit more complicated. We are going to tackle it this year. We want to retain talented attorneys because ultimately it's good for the administration of justice, for criminal justice, and also it saves taxpayer money when you have good lawyers. But we left the elected official conversation to the end. We engaged in a reclassification plan for employees. We've given, I think, somewhere around 17% raises over the last 5 years to employees on top of the reclass plan. We raised the minimum wage to above $10 an hour so that we had a floor that was a living wage. And so when it came time to tackle the elected official salaries, when we looked at them, virtually everyone was either at 70% of market already, like the district clerk, the county clerk, tax assessor, JPs, everyone except Commissioners Court and the constables. And so that's why this increase happened this year, because it's at the tail end of that process. We're now going to begin another phase of the process, a wage scale study, which we believe will increase employees' salaries even more. That's the next phase. But at this point, after the budget is passed, all elected officials within the county will, there will be an equitable approach to compensation. They will all be at least at 70% of market.
Okay, so County Commissioner Andrew Haggerty, though, voted no on this. We had an opportunity to speak with him a little earlier this week, did an interview, and we have a portion of that interview to play for you now.
All of the elected officials in El Paso are underrepresented as far as pay goes. The city is way underserved, and I think that hurts El Paso in general, because you're not going to get the people to run for it who should be able to. The reason I voted against it, honestly, is I don't think a 41% raise in one shot was the way to go, and I was very vocal about that the entire process and the entire time. But do I think raises should have happened? Most likely, absolutely. It's been many years.
All right, so he is not completely against it. He was just against it happening so quickly. Why not spread it out over a couple years?
Well, as a judge stated, over the last 5 years and even before, we've always tried to raise all of the employees' salaries in the county, and the commissioners' courts, past commissioners' courts, have always kind of kicked the can down the road when it comes to doing something about the commissioners' court. And we had the opportunity to do this. We had a court that, even though it was a split vote on the commissioners' side, it was a 4-to-1 vote to raise the judge's salary, but on the commissioner's side it was 3-2. But we had the will and the appetite to actually do this, and so that you know, we didn't have to bring it up again next year or the following year, and we just decided that it was a time to take this action and make the county, I think, a better place, a much more attractive, these positions much more attractive to professionals that may not have been looking at something like this in the past.
And Veronica, you mentioned earlier that if you didn't do it all this year, you might have to come back the next year or the year after,
right? And
voters might say, "You're here again."
Right, precisely. You know, I think for me, part of it was we had not split it up in the past for department heads or for other elected officials, when we had been given the data as to where an employee should be or an elected official should be, we did it in that fiscal year. We cannot make commitments or promises for the future years. That actually goes against the the spirit of the responsibility of handling that particular fiscal year. But as the commissioner said, we are now at that level where we won't have to do it again next year. So I mean, really, I think some people said it would have been better if you would have split it. Others said it shouldn't have happened at all. And so, there's no way to make everybody happy, but we did what we could with the data at the time that we had it. It was definitely a difficult decision.
Okay. Well, we want to hear from some of the Facebook comments out there. Like I said, there's certainly a lot of people expressing their opinion on our social media pages. Let's go to some of those. The first one's from R.D. Higgins. He says, wow, just when you think El Paso can't get any more greedy or corrupt than it already is, and they wonder why they have such a bad reputation. The whole entire area needs a complete ethical and moral overhaul. Raul Gonzalez, very sad. Giving yourself a 45% pay raise is criminal. Time for honest people to replace some of these public officials. And lastly, Pablo Diaz, why are these people getting to decide their own salaries? Why isn't there a system of checks and balances in place? And I think that's a good question. A lot of people who commented on the Facebook said, why isn't this being put to voters for us to decide?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm so glad we have an opportunity to answer it. County government in Texas is very prescriptive. All 254 counties basically have the same responsibilities. Commissioners' courts in Texas are the only bodies that can decide the salaries for everyone within that organization, even their own salary. It would be great if we could delegate that to somebody else, but the state code only allows commissioners' court. So we could not have put this out to a vote. If it had been put out to a vote, we couldn't have used county money because we're not authorized to do that under state code. So every single commissioner's court in all 254 counties decides not just on all the salaries within the organization, but their own as well. And again, I want to remind viewers that we had brought everybody up to the 70% of market. Everyone except two groups, the constables and the commissioners' courts. And so I haven't heard a single complaint about the constables being brought up to 70% of market or any other elected official in the county being at 70% of market. The only complaint that I've heard is about commissioners' court, the governing body that oversees all of the organization.
Why do you think that is?
I think, honestly, part of it, the part that's least palatable to people, and I get it 100%, is that we voted on our own salaries. As I said, I would love to have delegated that to a different elected body because it's so uncomfortable to vote on your own salary. But state code says that the commissioner's court alone takes that vote and has that responsibility.
Okay, for reference, how does it work in the city?
So the city is a home rule city, and the Texas state law allows or requires the city charter is the law of the land in the city. Our city charter requires any raises above 5% to go to the voters. And so in 2013, when the charter committee recommended increasing city council pay up to the federal median income in El Paso County, that was rejected by the voters, 59% to 41%, which was kind of a big margin. In 2015, the Charter Committee, again, we recommended that city council raise be put up a little bit more, increased a modest amount. I think it was $10,000. And unfortunately, city council declined our recommendation, and that never went to the voters at all.
They were too worried to even go to the voters.
I think that's fair. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple callers waiting to express their opinion. Let's go ahead and listen to the first one.
This is Jim from the West Side. I'm on Social Security, and I haven't had a raise in 3 years. Why should y'all get such a huge raise? Thank you.
Okay, I'll open that up. Whoever wants to answer. That was Jim saying that he hasn't had a raise in a few years.
I can speak to that. You know, I think that what we're trying to do in El Paso County is attract the best and the brightest and the most talented at all levels within all of the positions that we have, and that's why we're doing these salary regrades over this 7-year period. And you know, the Commissioner's Court, we oversee many different issues. I mean, we dealt with the Children's Hospital last year. We deal with economic development. This is not a part-time job. You know, this is a, you know, I really do understand why people are upset and may not think that we deserve it, but you know, why would you not want to be able to attract in the future the best and the brightest with the Commissioner's Court as well? We're trying to do so with our own, all of the employees. Why not on the Commissioner's Court? You know, that's kind of what.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing I would say is the only organization we have control over is our own. You know, so we got comments like, what about teacher salaries? Well, we don't oversee teacher salaries, but what we do is we try to ensure that our own organization, that we are working towards achieving competitive wages for everyone. And so what I would say to the public is, this is a very important conversation in general. The philosophy of whether we want to pay people commensurate to their duties and responsibilities. These are big jobs. So I will tell you, City Council, I absolutely support increasing those salaries for the mayor and council. I voted, for example, to increase the firefighters' salaries as well. If we want to pay people for the jobs that they're doing, that has to be a commitment that we make across the board. I don't understand the philosophy that there should be exceptions to that rule. So that is my personal philosophy.
Okay, we're going to take a lot more calls this evening. You're watching ABC-7 Extra. When we come back, a look at the proposed county budget, and we'll also be taking more of your comments. You can call us on the comment line. Again, that number is 496-1771. If you're online right now, you can email us at ABC7Extra at KVIA.com. You can also tweet me at Guadian at ABC7. You can use the hashtag ABC7Extra. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. As El Paso County Commissioners continue to dig deeper into the budget process for the next fiscal year, some eyebrows have been raised about commissioners approving salary increases for themselves, but that's a small part of a lot of other increases commissioners have been talking about, and now we're starting to approve. ABC-7's Andrew J. Polk has been following the budget process.
El Paso County leaders are still working through discussions and decisions for the fiscal year 2017 budget, which goes into effect in October. Take a look at the overall numbers. This budget, as initially outlined, will top $340 million, about an $18 million increase over 2016's budget of just under $323 million. That increase does exclude about $97 million in debt refinanced this year, but that was already issued and on the books from previous years. Some of the increases represented in this budget include a 2.5% step increase in salary for all full-time county employees on the job for more than a year and that meet performance evaluation standards, expected to cost around $2.5 million a year extra going forward. New positions for county departments and other elected officials could cost up to about $2 million. Other departments under the county are asking for increases, like juvenile probation's request, calling for about $900,000 more. And the commissioner's pay increase would total about $120,000 more. County Judge Veronica Escobar has said she plans on keeping taxes flat or even trying to decrease them, speaking here before the vote on the pay increase.
I think we're going to be able to pass a no new taxes budget. I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to address the needs and at the same time be able to meet our goal of no impact to the taxpayer.
Andrew J. Polk, ABC 7.
And I want to welcome back our guest tonight, El Paso County Judge Veronica Escobar, El Paso County Commissioner David Stout, and also Attorney James Montoya. I want to thank you all for staying up late and being with us. We're going to get back to the budget in just a minute, but I did want to read a tweet that we just got from Jaime. It says, private sector pays for good talent. Without decent pay, you get leaders that don't look like El Paso, rich or retired. So another point being made there tonight. I want to get back to the budget, though, because some people are asking how is this not going to impact taxpayers?
Well, Stephanie, we actually have a great story to tell on that front, and our budget is accomplishing a lot of really good things. We are investing in more mental health care, which is critical to this community. We are investing more in parks so that we can work to bring up the standard of our parks, which need a lot of work. We are continuing with all of our transportation programs. We are lowering employees' health insurance costs. We hope to lower their parking costs as well. We are giving the step increases to employees along with continuing the reclassification plan. A lot of really great stuff, and we're able to achieve it because years ago, over the last several years, we have made some tough decisions in terms of reforms and in terms of changes to the way that we do business at the county so that we could have the flexibility to utilize savings to do better things for the community. And so we're finally reaping that benefit. And not only do I think we will not have new taxes, but we do believe that we will be able to go below the effective tax rate again this year.
Okay, good news for a lot of people listening out there tonight. We have the calls lining up. We want to get to some more callers. Go ahead.
This races that the commissioners want to take, when they took this position on the county board, they knew it didn't pay much, and it must have been the love of serving the citizens of the county of El Paso that inspired them to do their job, and they were fine with the pay.
Fine with the pay, I think.
Yeah, and she's absolutely right. And I think every member of the court, and I think generally every elected official, steps up for altruistic purposes. The goal was, again, just so that viewers understand, to create equity and parity so that everybody was at 70% of market. To single out the Commissioner's Court to say they should not be on that same level creates an arbitrary standard. And then the question would be, James was kind of saying it during the break, then what should the standard be?
And that is a question that you're wondering. You want to ask people.
I think that's a fair question to ask people. What do you think is fair pay for your elected officials? I mean, on one hand, they can't be volunteers. I think it's two competing. You want them to not work for that much, but you also expect a full-time representation. You expect them to be in the office. You expect them to attend the meetings. You expect them to be responsive to the constituents' concerns. So what is that worth? I don't know. How you come to that, obviously they've done it by this market analysis. I'm not familiar with it. On the city side, we wanted to tie it to another objective value, the median income of a family of 4 here in El Paso County. I thought that was fair when we proposed it for the city, and obviously I guess other people feel otherwise.
Do you think it'll come before voters again?
If I serve on the next charter committee, I highly recommend it to the next council. As you mentioned earlier, when we asked council, hey, you should put this to the voters, I think they were a little scared. I think they were a little nervous. I know there's been a lot of dysfunction on council. Would it have passed? Probably not. Probably not. But we're going to keep fighting because I do think it is a matter of fairness and a matter of equity if you want good public servants.
Okay, let's go ahead and go to the calls again. We've got another caller. Go ahead.
You know that $14,000 raise that the county judge just gave herself, and that other raise for our commissioners? They could have kept our library open in Sabin. Now they closed our library because they have no money. Then where is all this money coming from now? All of a sudden she's getting $14,000 raise. I understand maybe $1,000 or $2,000, but $14,000?
Okay, I don't know what library she was speaking about, but that kind of gets at the heart of it, though, because these raises are coming in one big chunk, and I think it's a hard pill for some folks out there to swallow.
right? So the Fabens Library was closed long before we were on Commissioner's Court. And it is our goal, we just had a strategic planning session, to reverse the trend of prior courts and to create more urban services in the outlying areas. So that is a priority for us. We can't answer to what prior Commissioner's Courts did to shut things down, but I can tell her that we are working to try to increase services out in the county. $14,000 is not going to fund a library. And again, the whole purpose of this is to create equity. And people may not believe that there's merit in equity, but your county judge is now getting paid what an entry-level department head gets paid. Your county commissioner is now getting paid what an IT help desk expert is making, or what a fleet manager is making. It is still the lowest paid commissioner's court in the state among the large urban counties. It is still 30% below the average market rate in order to adjust for our lower cost of living and our lower income. But she may not believe this, but I believe it with my whole heart that every elected official should get paid commensurate to the responsibilities and duties that they have.
Okay, we're going to hear from some more callers in just a moment. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We want to go back to our callers commenting tonight. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, this is Kevin Pollitz. I don't know what the misconception is. If you look at data from other counties in Texas, El Paso has lagged far behind other counties in terms of salaries. These counties have similar budgets, and we just have to keep up with the growth that our county is experiencing. Thanks.
All right, well, thank you very much for calling. Some people had criticized, saying that you had not taken in the cost of living for El Paso County, but you did.
Yeah, we said it with the comparison of 70%, which is the level that our per capita income is here in El Paso, compared to what the other largest 10 counties make. And then we also took into account the 13% cost of living that's lower here in El Paso than in the other counties. So both of those numbers are found within the calculation for the final recommendation.
And Stephanie, before I forget, I do want to make another point. In addition to the work